Hello and welcome to Nature Days Outdoor Learning Resources, sponsored by the Gauss Society. Now for today's challenge, I'm going to introduce you to one of my Nature Days Outdoor Learning Challenge cards. Now the challenge for you today is, are your school grounds a suitable place for survival? That's the question we're going to investigate. Now it doesn't matter if you're not in your school grounds because we can change it to your garden. So do you think you could survive in your garden? Now we need to take away your house and any other buildings that you've got there. We're thinking about the outdoor space. So if I look at my card, it gives you some advice and things to think about. So think about, what do you need to survive? So there is something called the rule of threes. It says you can survive without one thing for 3 seconds, another thing for 3 minutes, another thing for 3 hours, another thing for 3 days, another thing for 3 weeks, and another thing for 3 months. So have a think. What are those things that we need to survive? And then consider what you can use in your school grounds or in your garden. The other things it says, the other questions it has is, how long will it take for you to do all these things? So once you've considered, I need a bit of shelter, you need to build a shelter. How long is it going to take you to build that shelter? And if you've got some stuff at home, maybe you've done a bit of gardening or some clearing, you could use that to create yourself a shelter in your garden or in your school grounds. And then the last question is, what is the most important thing to do to survive? So thinking about those priorities, what do you need to make sure that you've got first? So prioritizing those things you need to do. So of course you need some shelter. You probably want to make a fire because it's going to be quite cold. You also need to think about food and water. So you can wander around your school grounds or your garden and think about what food you have available. Now you might have a veg patch or you might have an allotment in your school. But what about the wild food? Can you forage for them? Now remember, don't eat anything if you're not 100% sure what it is. But there's some really great foraging books out there or apps, and you can have a look around and see what's in your garden or your school grounds to see what you could eat. Now, what you could do to answer this question and to undertake this challenge is to try and come up with some kind of guide to your school grounds or to your garden, how to survive in my garden. You could take some photos of the shelter that you've built, or tell them how to light a fire, or do a guide to the foraging food that you find inside your garden or in your school grounds. Now, once you've done that, you could challenge yourself to go a little bit further and think about, would it be easier to survive in your school grounds or in your garden with a group of people? What's the optimum number of people to help you survive? Or is it better on your own? And also think about which activity would take the longest, and if it would be quicker to do with more people, or whether some activities would actually be quicker on your own. And if you give some explanations, you could try and come up with that magic number. How many people do you want living in your garden with you to make sure you can all survive? And there is actually a magic number. So if you'd like to do that challenge, I'd love to see anything you make, either any shelters you make, or anything you do. And if you find some plants around your school grounds or in your garden that you might be able to eat, you can tweet those and I can tell you if they're for foraging or whether they're not. And if you would like to see some more of these outdoor challenge cards, there are over 50 in the set. And if you go to the Nature Days website, that's www.naturedays.co.uk, there's the shop there and you can buy all the cards. It's £50 for all 50 plus cards, and they cover all aspects of the curriculum, including health and well-being. So it's a great way to get back into school. If there's any teachers out there, if you want to get your children back out doing some independent learning in the outdoors, these challenge cards are for you. And what you have to do is just pay it on in the website, and then you get to download them and you can reproduce them, print them out, or use them for blended learning, send them home to anybody in your school or organisation. Now, I look forward to seeing anything that you've done in terms of survival in your school grounds, and I'll see you tomorrow for our final Nature Days Outdoor Learning Challenge.